people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, and now it's time for another installment of what has fast become the most popular segment here on the channel, Ring IQ Hate Mail! My previous video about Mike Mazzulli calling Clarissa Shields a near and imminent threat to the integrity of the sport, how she is now clout-chasing Chrissy and Rock for attention, a subscriber who goes by the name Flamboyant Promotions. He asked, have you ever complimented Clarissa ever? To which I responded, no, and I don't intend to. Is that supposed to be a retort to what was said? He replied, no, it's an observation that I take into account when I hear your comments about her. You seem to be obsessed with her slightly. This is what they do when they can't refute what you're saying. They take a shot at you. You seem to have a grudge against her. What is it? Did she refuse an interview with you or something? To address the question, because I know that I can, no, I've never asked Clarissa for an interview, nor have I ever wanted one. You have a grudge against her? I gotta hold a grudge because I'm telling the truth? You should be more focused on why Mike Mazzulli, the president of the Association of Boxing Commissions, views her as a threat to the integrity of the sport. You didn't have anything to say about that. Of course not, because if he takes time to acknowledge what Mike Mazzulli said, it proves my point. That she's not a good ambassador for the sport. Really enjoy Ring IQ hate mail segments just like this one because it puts on display what happens when communication breaks down. And why? Here you have somebody so childish and emotionally involved that they want to join the conversation but don't have anything to say. You want to defend her, but you don't know how. Asking me if I've ever given her a compliment, as if what is being said is any less true based on compliments. Well, you never said anything nice about her, so you must be wrong. Why, am I supposed to say something nice about her? Is it written on some piece of parchment in somebody's library that you're required to give Clarissa Shields a compliment to be a truth teller? The reason I don't give her compliments is because I'm telling the truth. It's the same reason you don't want to address what was actually said, because underneath it all, you know it's true too. Had another original thinker who goes by the name Dong Wan who said, Ms. Baumgartner is a mega super whore. What the fuck does that have to do with Clarissa? All the D-list rappers wore her out, and they say it openly. She never says anything in defense. In her own right, she's just as bad an ambassador. This lady is in no way, shape, or form class. Who said she was? Like, what are you doing, trying to change the subject? Distract us from the point? The point was Mike Mazzulli, the president of the Association of Boxing Commissions, identified Clarissa Shields as a threat to the integrity of the sport. Not Alicia Baumgartner, not D-list rappers, not any of the shit you're talking about. What do her sexual proclivities have to do with anything? Not a lot, because this is another guy who wants to join in the conversation but has nothing to say. Nothing to say about the actual subject. Clarissa is the one that said that because she's a boxer and because she's a black woman, it's hard for her to get endorsements, to which I responded, well, there are plenty of other girls who have endorsements, Alicia Baumgartner among them, who's set to appear on a nationally syndicated television show this upcoming September. So no, if you ain't got endorsements, it's not because you're a woman and it's not because you're black, it's because you're an obnoxious bitch, and people don't want you to be the face of their company. Put simply, they don't want to use you. How did this Dong Wong guy get confused by that? Did he not understand why I mentioned Alicia in the first place? Hey, princess, what do you care who she's fucking or who she's not fucking? It's besides the point. She's a whore, she's not a whore? I don't know, because that ain't the subject. Maybe she is, and maybe she ain't. That don't make Clarissa Shields Mother Teresa, does it? That don't get Clarissa Shields sponsorships and endorsements, does it? No, it doesn't. And that's the point you failed to address because you want to join a conversation, but don't have shit to say. And he didn't stop there. He said, don't reference boxing ego. You cornflakes aren't great, but you're sure as hell better than ex-bim shill. Guy's so corny, he'd piss off a corn kennel. What the fuck is he talking about?
It's because of the portion of the video where I said that there were a lot of content creators that now spend a lot of time talking about Clarissa Shields, boxing ego among them.
Another instance where communication breaks down with a low IQ individual, because do you even understand why I brought up boxing ego?
Dong Wong continued, just because you pick up what others consider garbage doesn't mean it's an ambassador. Your words, half-man.
Half-man? The fuck?
I take it that he's taking it personal. I'm talking about Clarissa Shields in a not-so-nice way, since he's now attacking me.
He can't address what was actually said. He can't refute it. All he can do is try to change the subject and take shots at me.
Is that all you got, Don? Alicia's a whore.
Okay, so she's a whore with endorsements that Clarissa Shields does not have. What's your point?
She's a whore who is set to appear on a nationally syndicated television show.
Unlike Clarissa, who's got to suck up to social media influencers to try to get at the mainstream. I take it he doesn't really like Alicia Baumgartner, likely from being such a big fan of Clarissa. But here's reality. Mike Mazzulli didn't have anything to say about Alicia or her sexual proclivities. She's not the one he said is a near and imminent threat to the sport's integrity. He said that about Clarissa, so address that!
You can address that or you can shut the fuck up.
Calling me half-man, you're a whole bitch! I go live several times a week, sweetheart, without you ever jumping on to say nothing, so keep hiding in the comments section, taking selfies.
Pussy.
Probably gonna end up going live later today, and I bet you won't join, because you're a pussy.
Pussy.
See, I don't gotta do a whole lot of fact-checking for a guy like this. With him, it's a lot more simple.
Oh, you don't like my video about Clarissa? So what?
So fucking what, bitch? Do something about it.
Jump on a panel.
Cam up. Join a live. You're so fucking tough.
Put a face behind some of those comments. I know you won't, because you're a bitch.
Wah. This guy's being mean to Clarissa. So fucking what? Do something about it.
Do something.
It's not like you're gonna address any of the things I said anyway, because you can't. Thinks she's big and bad. Suck dick, bitch.
Now what?
Say something. If I even let you say something, because as soon as I don't feel like reading your stupid fucking comments, I could stop that from happening. And what are you gonna do about it?
Nothing.
Not a motherfucking thing, because you're a bitch. Dick-sucking bitch.
Pussy.
Did I put that in terms you can understand, Don? Do you understand that?
Fuck Clarissa Shields.
Fuck Don Juan. Now what? What are you gonna do?
I think I'll make another video about Clarissa later today, just because Don doesn't want me to.
Just because I fucking feel like it.
Do something, bitch.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Vince Cummings of the Boxing Rant took to his social media and stated, Errol Spence fanboys are crying because Crawford gave an honest assessment of a completely shot fighter from ringside, and that's fucking hilarious. To which boxing scribe Stephen Kimothy responded, and it's completely on brand for them.
Crawford was ringside for the fight this weekend between Errol and Tim. And you know, Errol starts losing the fight.
Terrence starts tweeting about it on his social media. He's more or less scoring it live the way I often do during a live fight. So I have that to go back to and reassess. And I guess that Errol's remaining supporters, they didn't like that. One example shown here from the inevitable D-Block, who said, I told you he was there to talk shit about Errol. Fuck Terrence Crawford for life.
Wait, I don't understand. Errol's losing the fight. What was Terrence supposed to say?
The truth is, Terrence Crawford can't do anything right for a certain section of the boxing community because they're just a bunch of sore fucking losers. Inevitable D-Block and anybody else like him is just angry that Terrence beat Errol and he beat Canelo.
These are the people that were happy to criticize Terrence Crawford's resume up until the point he beats Errol, proving them wrong, up until the point he beats Canelo, proving them wrong again.
These guys are just mad they're fucking wrong all the time. That's all it is.
Some more than others because they're trying to become influencers within the boxing space, news sources for the sport, but you can't really do that when you're always getting it wrong. When your evaluation of what's happening is often off base, riddled with personal feelings. Ever since Elon let people start buying blue ticks for their social media accounts, everybody wants to be a content creator now, with no content.
Nothing useful to say.
Some individuals that have nothing useful to say or contribute to the boxing conversation, the boxing space, and what they upload is little more than rage bait. You're still mad? Terrence won?
That was 3 fucking years ago.
He's not being nice to Errol.
There's not a lot of nice ways to say that the guy's losing a fight. That his body language ain't looking too good, he's not looking too hot. How many nice ways are there for him to say that?
It's like trying to reason with children.
Guy's literally losing the fight, and you're angry that Terrence Crawford was ringside saying the guy's losing the fight. It's like trying to reason with children, except that these are not children, these are not toddlers, these are grown men in their 30s, 40s?
Sore fucking losers. There's not a lot more to it than that. Errol Spence Jr. officially retired this weekend, which raises a question. What kind of career did he have? Was it a successful one? Is he Hall of Fame worthy now that he's hung the gloves up?
I will say that by every quantifiable metric that you can quantify, Errol had a successful boxing career. He turned the sport and his abilities within it into millions upon millions of dollars that he was able to retire on. I would call that a success. For a brief period, he even competed at the highest levels of the sport, at least in his division, which was the welterweight division.
But does that make him a Hall of Famer? Is Errol Spence Jr., now that he's retired, Hall of Fame worthy?
For me, that depends on the cycle of fighters that he came up with. See, he came up in the same era as Terence Crawford, as Naoya Inoue, as Alexander Usyk, and as Canelo Alvarez.
But he's not as good a fighter as they are. In the ring, he was not as successful, he was not as accomplished, not as popular either.
That's inside the ring. Outside the ring, well, he wasn't that big a draw. I mean, he wasn't that popular. He was on the cusp of breaking into the mainstream, but he never actually did it. Because the biggest fight that he was ever in, the one that sold the most, was the one where he got his ass kicked.
The Crawford fight. That's the biggest pay-per-view he was ever in.
So there are two ways to get into the Hall of Fame. Either it's your accomplishments that might get you in, like they got Andre Ward in spite of his lack of marquee value, or your marquee value, your popularity.
And Errol Spence Jr. was not that accomplished. He was a unified champion, but there have been a lot of unified champions that are not getting into the Hall of Fame.
Julius Ndango was a unified champion. Murat Gassiev was a unified champion.
But I don't think anybody would say they've had Hall of Fame boxing careers for being unified champions, right?
Right.
So Errol just being a unified champion is not a strong enough argument by itself to get him into the Hall, at least not in my opinion. In terms of popularity, I think he was on the cusp of becoming a mainstream attraction. He was on his way, but then the car accident happened, and he didn't fight often after that.
Fighting only once in 2020, not at all in 2021, coming back for one fight, just one in 2022, then one more in 2023.
Which is the one that he lost to Crawford.
Then coming back 3 years later for one more fight, which is another one that he lost. I'm not looking at that and seeing a Hall of Fame worthy career. In terms of accolades or popularity, I'm not seeing a strong enough argument for my liking to induct Errol Spence Jr. into the Boxing Hall of Fame. Now that doesn't mean that he won't get in. It all depends on what other names come up and who's on the voting panel.
Because you can only vote put so many guys in at a time.
But depending on who's on that voting panel, and depending on how sentimental they are, do they have a soft spot for Errol? He might still get in, not on merit, but on sympathy.
Depending on who's on the voting panel.
I saw some individuals bring up Gennady Golovkin's recent induction as a counterpoint that, well, if Gennady Golovkin can get in with his resume, then surely Errol could get in with his.
I don't know about that. Look, Gennady Golovkin doesn't have the strongest resume. What he does have is a very strong track record of title defenses. About 15 of them, 20, over 20, if you count the regular title.
I personally don't. But the voting panel for the International Boxing Hall of Fame, it looks like they did. On top of him being a unified champion like Errol, he was also a lot more active than Errol. And he was a bigger draw than Errol, selling out at Madison Square Garden, selling out at the O2 Arena in London.
3 separate pay-per-view appearances that drew in 1 million pay-per-view buys apiece at the box office.
Tack on him being an Olympic silver medalist and his current seat at World Boxing that oversees all of the amateur boxing, and he has a somewhat stronger argument than Errol. Even if his resume's not that strong, he gives you other things to look at than Errol. Now,
I just don't think Errol Spence Jr. has had a Hall of Fame worthy career. He's had a successful boxing career that he can be proud of, and he retired on his own terms, but to say that he's Hall of Fame worthy for doing what?
What?
For beating Danny Garcia?
What?
Your Denis Lugos?
I'm not seeing a Hall of Fame worthy career. So that, if you're asking me, do I think he should get inducted? I personally don't. That doesn't mean he won't get in. That just means that if it were up to me, he wouldn't.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, seemingly reacting to the Joshua versus Prenga fight and the early scare that Anthony Joshua suffered in the first round, getting knocked down 2 times, and what people had to say about it.
A lot of people are saying that Anthony Joshua is shot to bits and his punch resistance is gone, to which veteran fighter and former champion Dickens said, quote unquote, punch resistance is gone, repeated by men who'd phone the busies for getting punched.
I take it that he doesn't like what people are now saying about Anthony and what he has left to give the sport, but irrespective of whether or not they would or wouldn't call the cops, that doesn't make it any less true.
It's not just the spectators in this spectator sport saying that Anthony's punch resistance is gone. Tyson Fury has been saying that about Anthony for years now. I think I heard Frank Warren say something similar on previous occasions. I think I heard Bob Arum. The people in boxing on that side of the industry seem to echo that sentiment. So why castigate the fans for what the people in the industry are telling them?
Is this the thing where the fighters think you gotta be a fighter to have an opinion, to chime in?
You have to have fought before to have a perspective on what it is you're watching these days, what it is you're paying to see, because no sport, more than the sport of boxing, requires the fans to go into their wallets.
Not more than boxing.
To see Anthony Joshua in action this past weekend, you would have had to come out of pocket $60 in America and $30, I think, in the United Kingdom. This was not part of the regular schedule. It costed extra, so for you to pay it...
You got some guy telling you can't have an opinion on it? When you go to the movies, you can write a movie review. If you go to a restaurant,
you can tell your buddies whether or not the food was good, but if you buy a boxing match, you're not allowed to have an opinion on it. Some people think Anthony Joshua is shot. Watching him get floored 2 times by a club-level fighter with no experience at world level, there are a lot of people who think his punch resistance is gone. And I don't even think that's a hot take.
Not after they've been hearing it from both sides. The people on this side of the industry at the ground level and the people who work within it. They've all been saying the same thing for a long time. So why should Dickens be offended by that?
It just comes off as thin-skinned. I'm a fan of Anthony Joshua. I have been for years. But even I have to admit, he looks shot to bits. And even if I do still want to see him fight Tyson Fury, well, I don't know if he wins. If we're going to have those conversations and evaluate the outcome, place our bets.
We're not allowed to say what we think without the boxers being offended.
My take on the whole thing. Nobody's going to like some outsider telling them how to do their job. Chiming in, that's understandable, but it's also understandable that there's no free boxing, save maybe Pro Box on YouTube. You want to watch boxing now, you've got to come out of pocket every single time to see it on Paramount.
Even more to see it on DAZN.
This is an industry that is constantly asking me and you to open up our wallets to patronize them, so we're not allowed to have an opinion? Bullshit.
Fucking bullshit.
More than once a month, several times a year, and that's on top of subscription fees.
You can't ask for money that much and then try to gatekeep opinions.
So people think Anthony Joshua shot. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. But they're allowed their opinions. Don't need to be a movie director yourself to know if you enjoyed the movie. You don't need to be a 4-star chef to know whether or not the food was good. You're allowed your opinions.